Hi everybody, I was not planning on making this video, but I saw the Google Doodle for today. Today is her birthday, so let's just get into it for a little bit. Adelaide Hall. Adelaide Hall was a jazz singer who made a name for herself in America. Then she changed her home base to Europe, more precisely the UK. She was a big part of the Harlem Renaissance, and her name was on the same show bills as some of the big names that you can think of from that era. Calloway, Duke Ellington, Lena Horne, all of them. She was born on October 20th, 1901 in Brooklyn, New York, and she was born to entertain. When the popular songwriting team Noble Sissle and U.B. Blake casted their hit musical Shuffle Along in 1921, Adelaide Hall earned a spot in the show as a chorus girl. She would go on to do a number of similar shows in the next few years. She was pretty, a talented dancer, a good singer, very easy to book. In 1924, she got married. Thankfully, that did not stop her career. In fact, it helped it. Her husband was Bertram Errol Hicks from Trinidad. He became her manager, but he was the kind of manager who actually promoted her well and got her good gigs. It didn't seem like he was there to just live off of her because she was his cash cow, a la Wendy Williams and Kevin Hunter, or Mary J. Blige and whatever her ex-husband's name was. Errol opened a nightclub in Harlem called the Big Apple, and often Adelaide would perform there. The following year, in 1925, she went off to tour Europe. There was a revue that was created to give European audiences a taste of the black entertainment scene in New York. By this time, the Cotton Club was world famous, and people everywhere wanted to know just what was going on there. So, since they couldn't get to Harlem, Harlem came to them in the form of a show called the Chocolate Kitties Revue. There was big band music, singing, and dancing. Adelaide performed the latter two. Getting back home from Europe, she went straight to work the next year in 1926 in another black revue show. This one was called Tan Town Topics. It featured music written by Fats Waller, and it was a success too. Later the same year, she had a residency at Small's Paradise. Only months later, she went on to star in Irvin C. Miller's production called Desires of 1927. That forever tied their names together. In this show, she danced and sang while playing the ukulele. She and all of the ladies got rave reviews. I'm sure that her performance had to have been stellar. I guess that it didn't hurt that the costumes that the ladies wore were made of very little material. Now, I could go on and on about Adelaide's performances. She really had an amazing career, but this video is going to be short, and I discuss scandals here. This scandal is not about something that she did, but something that happened to her, and how good Americans rallied around her and supported her. It all centered around this beautiful home. It's a house that Adelaide was leasing after returning home from another European tour in the summer of 1932. It was in a very exclusive suburb called Larchmont in Westchester County in New York. When the word got out in the press that she was moving in, I guess that her neighbors were thinking, there goes the neighborhood. They were upper middle class, but so was she. They were all white, and she was not. They were prejudiced and didn't think that she deserved to be in their neighborhood, even though she could easily afford the lease, and they'd hardly ever have to see her. Her neighbors threatened court action to have her evicted based on her race. When that didn't work, she faced severe harassment, and that's an understatement. Crimes were committed against her. Her home was broken into, and there had even been an attempt to set it on fire. When these horrible acts against her made national headlines, Adelaide received letters of support from both white and black people all over the nation. They begged her to stick it out, and she did. Later in the year, she issued a statement to the press, letting whoever was concerned about her know that she was a true American citizen, with lineage that could be traced back to the Shinnecock Native tribe before their land had become Long Island. And because of that, she was going to stand her ground. That's how the situation started. Here's a news article from Daily News on Christmas Day 1932 that lets you know how it ended. Quote, Adelaide Hall, dusky prima donna of some of Broadway's most successful colored revues, is living in Larchmont in the very English manor house she leased last summer over protests of Mayor Monroe Steiner and the petitions of property owners on Kilmer Road. But she is living there so unobtrusively, what with getting home in the early morning hours and sleeping until mid-afternoon, that the only thing distinguishing the Hall menage from the rest of the neighborhood is the perfect quiet maintained there. Failing to find legal grounds for an injunction against the colored singer as a neighbor, the Kilmer Road Association and former Mayor Platt Wiggins, the chief objectors, appear to have become reconciled to letting Adelaide Hall's lease take its course, even though they still refuse to say, "How do you do?" End quote. Do you see that? Her neighbors didn't even have to see her because of the hours that she kept due to her entertainment career. Well, by 1938, she'd made the UK her new home. We've heard stories like hers before, from ladies who came after her like Josephine Baker and even Tina Turner. Thankfully, she didn't let this foolishness or anything stop her from becoming everything that she became. After more decades of success, she passed away from natural causes on November 7th, 1993, at the age of 92. If you saw that ad from the Tan Town Topics and wondered, did they really mean tan? That's a fair question. Sometimes tan was a word used for all Black entertainers just to differentiate from white. But other times, especially when it came to women performers in the 1920s and 1930s, tan meant having to have light brown skin. I published a video about that dynamic and Cab Calloway's stance on it at the Cotton Club. You can see that story here. I'll leave a link to it in the description box. This video has been brought to you by me. Well, my Patreon is a sponsor for this video. If you like these dirty scandals on my channel, then you'll love my Patreon, Ty's Too Hot Hot Mess History. It has all of the stuff that I can't talk about or show here because it's just too hot, too violent, too sexual, too graphic, too much. Come and join us there for the hot mess history. The link is in the description box.